Okay, so welcome to Satsang. So Satsang is resting as being. Resting as our true nature. Our true nature is peace. It's a inherent peace, effortless peace and well-being and tranquility and transparency, vastness, the formless self. The forms that appear to you are like in your night dream. They're arising, they're appearances, but they are not meant to define you. They are not meant to limit you in any way. Because what you truly are is this aware presence. God's light, the light of being. So I welcome you to relax as this presence, to allow all what's arising for you to be completely free. Not to mess with it, not to try to force it to take on a specific shape or a specific form that you believe is better. The goodness, the peace, the love, the beauty is not in the forms. It's in your formless being. Your formless being is undefined by the mind. Whatever the mind defines is a download, meaning it's the conceptual realm and not the realm of transparency, not the realm of reality, not the realm of being. How lovely it is when you can relax around whatever is unfolding and simply abide as the peace of being. So I invite you to rest as that, to rejoice as being, as formless being, as infinite being. To allow all past impressions to dissolve, which is a simple recognition that they are already dissolved. the recognition that, in fact, in your direct experience, which is this very moment, there is no past. What you truly are is not in time. Time is a thought impression, the thought of yesterday, the thought of this morning's breakfast. Is time. But when you look for this thought, nowhere is it to be found. And yet, many of us suffer due to the impression of time. While the eternity of being is facing us, looking at us straight in the eye. So in allowing the thoughts to their complete freedom, which is the infinite space of awareness, you recognize that thoughts arise in this infinite space of awareness, and that they have no substance of their own outside of the infinite space of awareness. There is in that recognition, in that contemplation, the revelation that thought is benign. It is like the wind, like vapor, like mist, like clouds. There is no need for you to agonize due to your thoughts. The core agony in your life is the impression that I, this borderless, empty, transparent, aware presence, is vulnerable, is subject to the mind, is subject to the world, is subject to the phenomenal realm. But when you contemplate the reality of the phenomenal realm, you only come upon perceptions, thoughts, and bodily sensations. All of which are intimate are at zero distance from you, the knowingness of those phenomena. And when you contemplate knowingness, meaning awareness, you only find the light of being. You don't find any object, any limited objects. You only find the borderless presence, the borderless awareness, the borderless transparency of being. The download that we suffer from is that I, this aware presence, is a mortal form. But this download cannot stand in the light of your contemplation. In the light of your contemplation, the false dissolves in your inquiry, revealing the transparency of being, the reality of consciousness. So, in your life, you need to take every possible opportunity. Maybe your whole life is an opportunity to contemplate the truth, so you can awaken from the illusion of separation that is very unhappy and leads us to hurtful behavior. So I welcome whatever questions you have. Any clarification that is needed. Hello, Ananda.
Hello.
You write that the effective trickery of thought arising as they do in spacious timelessness is quite ironic. The short daylight hours are affecting several of my friends' seasonal affective disorder.
I mean, it's really, some people are moping around like there's something really wrong. And, who are normally a cheerful companions. And I think it has a lot to do with this effect of short light hours in the day. But how that affects me is I find I don't particularly like that mood around, to be around that mood. So I'll take my light away as well. and you know what I mean? And not particularly want to be around that mood. I don't seem to be affected by it much, but some people really are.
Mm.
So there's so many possible, you know, things in that. It's like it's kind of a rich subject, but
Mm-hmm.
the one that really occurs to me as a real question for me is, do I have almost a duty to, you know, stand by people when they're in a moody state? I'll just say a little more. I was married to someone for 15 years who had major depression cycles, and especially it was in Vermont in the winter, especially then. And I don't know, anything you could share about it?
If, first of all, we need to awaken. We can't be responsible for other people's karmic path.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, here we are interacting and interfacing with friends and folks who
Yes.
are at different places in their journey.
Yes.
And our journey is key in our interactions. When we are spinning in our own mind and own inner turmoil, then in our interactions with our friends and folks that we run into, that inner turmoil is part of the mix, is part of the relationship, part of the interaction.
Right.
Now, we observe certain behavior, certain phenomena, and we can contemplate what we are observing. Whatever is arising for us can be a subject of contemplation for us. So you have, what is it called, the seasonal affective disorder. So
the acronym is SAD.
yeah. So I look at that because it's arising in my space.
Yes.
I may not be feeling that, but I perceive it, for example, in a relationship with a partner. SAD,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm not talking about helping your partner, but just simply to sort of contemplate what is going on. There is weather, there is shorter days, you know. And so what is the issue? Obviously, I am being affected by the daylight. The shorter daylight is affecting me.
Yeah.
So my mood is changing. But the question is, am I my mood? Am I my mood? When I'm identified with what is happening to the body, because the body is sort of moving slower, is not running to go for walks in the sunlight. When I'm identified with the body, I am the body's feelings and the body's emotions. And when there is this sort of identification, then I feel like something is happening to me.
Right.
When I feel there is something happening to me, I'm going to do something about it. I may, I don't know, I may come and start yelling at my partner, why, God knows what. Or I may just, stay in bed and decide not to get out.
Yeah.
Because I am on the impression that something is happening to me, you see. And many people who may hear what I'm saying now would say, what sort of foolish talk are you talking? Of course it's happening to me. But I am not talking foolish talk. I am talking about our identification with the body, our identification with the sensations and the feelings and the emotions that are rising.
Right.
As soon as we identify with the bodily sensation, then the sensation changes. It becomes a feeling. A sensation is a neutral phenomena at the body-mind level. But when we identify with it, we add the me. We add, oh, something is happening to me. The I becomes a me. It ceases to be I awareness, I consciousness, I freedom. It becomes I, the body-mind that is subject to the weather, that is subject to the daylight. Imagine if you are living subject to the daylight, and you live in what is it, Finland, or you know, how could you live there? You'd have to be on Thorazine and Mellarel. They'll have to inject you with all sorts of drugs to just keep you from killing yourself. Yes, right? Imagine that you live like that. And I think maybe this is what you are talking about folks who live subject to the weather, that they are subject to some elements. Now, so we need to contemplate that. And this is, when we, in our life, at some point, we start to contemplate, we start to ask ourselves, what is the reality? What is real from what is mind? And you start to realize, you start to learn things about yourself. You realize that when you are identified with the body, when you're identified with what's happening at the body level, yes, you are subject to sad, and you're subject to moods, and you're subject to, rather, the neutrality of what's happening becomes charged.
Yes.
It becomes a psychological event, like as if I'm in some sort of trouble.
Yes.
And if you look around, you will find that most of the human beings, they are looking for a better place, a better situation. Maybe it's not the weather, maybe it's the neighborhood. Maybe if it's not the neighborhood, it may be the job. If it's not the job, it may be the partner. It's the same thing, you see.
And I notice if there's somewhat of an intellectual comprehension of non-duality or this kind of teaching, whatever, but not a full commitment to it, in a sense.
Well,
then when things get a little bit, whatever it is, a toothache or whatever it is, it brings the identification right back into the body.
Yeah, we practice being as consciousness, living as consciousness during the calm times, during the easy times, so that when situations arise that are a little bit more difficult, we already have some sort of fruits in presence, unshakable being. So we practice when the weather is good, when the sunlight is long, full day, and some little things bother us. I don't know. We burned, we overcooked the pasta or something. We practice, being, this, being as consciousness, as awareness. Would consciousness throw a fit if the pasta is overcooked? No. Consciousness doesn't throw fits, doesn't feel failure or success. That's the human being, the human mind, that has this whole good and bad, and failure and success. So what I'm saying is that in times of ease, this is when we practice living, perceiving, thinking as consciousness, as presence, not as a man, not as a woman, not as a person, as consciousness. So that when now the days become shorter and the body starts to feel whatever, whatever happens at the body level, we already have enough experience below the belt. Is that the right expression?
Yeah. Like in your belly.
In your belly, that you can, it's not a big deal, you see. Right? You see. Now, in terms of being with somebody who suffers from these situations, it's
Yeah.
not your business to save them,
Mm.
but you can love them. You can be present to them. You can have some empathy for them. If there is some listening space,
Mhm.
you can share with them, you know, your contemplation. But if there isn't a listening space, there is no need for you to try to impose on them your non-duality. You can just love them and make them a cup of tea.
That
I don't know.
non-imposing is also something that I've learned over time,
Yes.
you know, from experience.
Yes.
Now, here's one thing I'm really curious about is, you know, sometimes you say it's not so much the thought realm that makes us suffer as the sensation realm. In other words, you can usually find the distress in your body, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering how that relates to this kind of situation.
Yeah. There is a certain body of thought that we believe. The body of thought basically says that you are born, you are a man or a woman, you are a great musician, or you are a great father or great builder, whatever. There is a whole body of thought that refers to I as a body mind, as a mortal body mind, with a gender, with an age, with a height, with a weight, with a density, with an IQ, etc.
Right.
And there is also the feeling level. We not only we believe we are this man or this woman or this person, but we also feel that we are here sitting in this chair. I am this. We feel it. We feel as an I. Now, in our contemplation in Advaita, we look via reasoning, via higher reasoning. We look at the belief. We say, we contemplate the following questions. If you are the body, then what is it that is perceiving the body? Because you perceive the body. So you're saying, is the body perceiving itself? If the body is perceiving itself, then the body is self-perceiving. And what part of the body is self-perceiving? Is it the cells that are self-perceiving? Is it the blood? What part of, you know? So there's a whole body of contemplations, a whole world of contemplations that leads you to the understanding that the body appears to you as thoughts, perceptions, and sensations.
Yes.
But you is not a body. You is consciousness.
Right.
That is at the reasoning level, and the reasoning level is very important. First, you need to comprehend that what is being shared. You have to comprehend it within yourself, not take somebody else's understanding. You have to sort of follow the teaching to come to that I get it. That makes sense. Now, as you continue your contemplation of what the reality, what is the reality of my experience, the belief structure starts to break apart, starts to fall apart. The belief that I am mortal starts to fall apart. How can consciousness be mortal? It's not even born. You know, I've contemplated the birth, or I never experienced the birth of consciousness.
Right.
So, although that gets to a certain degree dismantled, the feeling that I still am an I, and still am a person, is still there, remains. So there is the need to relax the sensations, the me sensations, Release them into the space. Relax, allow them to dissolve in the space, not to allow them to define you, because the sensations and the feeling says, I am sitting in this chair. So you go to that sensation, to that feeling of sitting in the chair, and you just keep going into it, and you open it up. You say, okay, sensation, you go to it. It's not mental, it's more somatic. You invite the sensation to reveal itself to itself. And it's going to reveal itself to be like a cloud in the sky. And this sort of contemplation at the feeling level, at the sensing level, is something that you can do throughout your day in so many different ways. It's just a matter of turning your attention to how at the feeling level you are holding a me position. Could be in the belly, it could be in the hands, could be in the shoulder, could be in the way you're standing. Just to relax and release. Allow the melting and the expanding and the dissolving of all these sensations. Allow them to dissolve. Not forcing them, not trying to get them out of the door, but just give them the space. Recognize the space that's already there. Just turning your attention to them, and you will find that you're holding. And whenever you notice that you're holding, relax your hold. Just relax your hold. Say, okay, relax it gently. You don't have to relax it quickly. You don't have to prove it to anybody. You don't have to succeed at it. It's just your own inner contemplation at the feeling level, at the sensing level. This part of your contemplation at the sensing level, at the feeling level, is very important.
And so if a person is feeling, say, not well because of situations, or a little like nauseous, like something, then it's a question of letting that be neutral rather than loaded with ideas.
I mean, if you're feeling nauseous, you want to attend to that. Maybe some mint. If you take
Ginger.
some mint, or eucalyptus or ginger, yes, it can help you with the nausea.
Yeah.
But maybe what you are saying is that you don't need to add a psychological dimension to it. You don't need to add, why is this happening to me? Or, oh my God, what's happening to me?
Right.
No, you're feeling nauseous. You try to find out what it is. Maybe there is a cause for the nausea. It could be something you ate, or it could be...
Oh, yeah. Certainly on that level. But I'm thinking, if the person doesn't have a real grounding in the inquiry, contemplation aspect, when the feelings come, you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, if you are not contemplating the self, when something happens to the body, to the nausea, for example, you feel in danger. You feel that something is happening to you. You feel that there is something at stake, and there is not just the nausea, but there's also a psychological dimension of something at risk, or something at stake, or some sort of danger. And the blood pumping, the heart will pump faster. The whole organism will respond to the psychological condition of fear or anxiety, or whatever emotion arising. Could be regret. There would be an added psychological dimension, which is the unhappiness. And that has like a snowballing effect, because the contraction, you will experience that, and then because you are in the psychology, you are in the me impression, what's happening to me, then you will feel, oh my God, things are getting worse.
Right.
then
Right.
you will start to take some actions that are based on the belief that you are in danger. And these actions will be erroneous actions because they have the virus of ignorance in them.
Right. Right.
They have the virus of identification in them. So those actions will carry on that virus, and now you have created a situation through your behavior, through your action, that has in it the virus.
Mm-hmm.
And now, well, basically, you're getting into the human condition.
Right.
I mean, you know it. I don't need to talk too much more about it. You know
And
it.
that's when you say, "Get out of here! Get away from me!" or whatever.
Yes. For example, I mean, you look at the world. The wars, the politics, the disasters, in the
Whoa.
families, the people. You look around and you ask
Yeah.
yourself, how could this be? How can it be? How could it be? I mean, you look at the antelopes; they are together. They run together. You look at the giraffes; they walk together. The elephants, the human beings, they are all trying to make this tribe against that tribe, and that group against this group, and the white against the blacks, and the rich against the etc.
Yeah.
It's an inner conflict that's being lived out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to my real issue for me is I like what you said. What you said in your talk in the beginning was just relax and let it be. So relax and let other people go through what they go through.
You are not people's savior. That's not your business. Your business here is to awaken to your true nature.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Because there's no any otherwise there's some angst involved, and angst is not what I'm after.
Everything will flow from your contemplation effortlessly, not from your mind. It says, I need to do this for this person and that person. You don't choose your thoughts, but you can choose one choosing you can do, which is to contemplate the self or not. To live as the self, meaning to live as consciousness. And to live as consciousness, you're constantly contemplating consciousness. Because as soon as you get your eye off the target, then you're back into I am this body mind.
I think either you or Francis, somebody said similarly, and maybe it amounts to the same thing. The one thing you can do is to not be reactive. You can see things happen and you can go, I. And that's the same as staying with the consciousness, isn't it?
Yes, because consciousness doesn't react. I mean, of course, if there is something that happens, there is a car driving towards you, you're going to get out of the way. But that's not a reaction. That is an action.
Yes.
The action of doing your best to take care of the body. It's your business to manage the body. You're the manager of the body. So you do your best. But reaction is like comes from the impression that something is happening to me. Getting out of the way of a car is something that may happen to the body, not to me, to the body. Because when you are doing this, stepping out of oncoming traffic, there is no thought. You know how people say sometimes that there is like, by instinct, they say, oh, I was driving and there was a car coming at me and I just moved like that out of the way. It was like an instinct or something like that. It's true. There is no thought. There is no. As soon as you thought, oh my God, what's happening to me? You freeze, and you. It's worse. It's really bad then. So, the contemplation. First, you have to come to understand that what you are is the light of being. you are awareness, consciousness, presence, the formless self. And nothing happens to the infinite invisible. All the happenings are at the body-mind level. Something happens to the tree, something happens to the car, something happens to the potato when you cook it. But nothing happens to I as presence, I as awareness. That is the core understanding. And then you live as that. You live as that, meaning there is going to be some times where there will be a download. Oh my God, something's happening to me. But you come back to living as your higher understanding. Your higher understanding is that I is this awareness, this aware presence. That I am the formless self, the light of being, transparency of being, the mystery of being, the wonder of being. So then it's like the sky. What is the sky worried about? What happens to the clouds, you know? The cloud can take on any shape. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or no clouds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like images on the screen. The screen, the images or the lake, ripples or no ripples on top of the lake. What does the lake isn't concerned about ripples or no ripples? Mm-hmm. There is a boat that comes over or a pigeon that comes, not a pigeon, a seagull that comes and lands on the water. It's all good. It's all good. It's not 80% good, 20% no good. It's all good. You need to realize that, not just say it's all good like that, you know. You need to realize that the reality of your being is presence. The reality of your being is not something. It is awareness, the formless self. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That understanding needs to take root in your being. And as it's doing that, as it's taking root, it will dissolve all the impression of danger and imminent doom, or a sense of lack of incompleteness. All of that will dissolve as that understanding mm-hmm. is taking root in your being.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like the root of equanimity.
Yes, absolutely.
You didn't. It doesn't bring up a bunch of fear because
the fear is whenever we imagine ourselves to be the body-mind. Then we're afraid. Oh my God, what's happening? It's aging. It's gaining weight. It's getting sick. Whatever the identification.
Yeah. Oh, there's other questions. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ananda. Okay. Hello, Rhonda. Rhonda, you're right. Your explanation of the magnetic power of the mind that puts the person in the mind was very helpful. Thank you. Is the application of self-knowledge, I am awareness, and the negation of the identification with the person is the way to freedom. Yes, Rhonda, freedom is our true nature. Consciousness, awareness is freedom. So yes, the contemplation of what I am truly, and it's not about thinking about it, but looking directly in your experience right now, because you cannot look in your experience tomorrow, because your experience is always now. Nor can you look in your experience yesterday, because there is no such a thing as your yesterday experience. There's just your experience now. when you look at your experience, meaning right now, don't you find awareness? Presence. It's a silent recognition. It's a silent recognition, an inner recognition of that awareness, that transparency, that effortless. I don't do any effort, and it's a perception that appears and then changes and changes or whatever. But the awareness is always there. So yes, it's the contemplation of what am I truly, that I am this awareness, this invisible, infinite self, infinite, invisible presence. And that the body-mind is an appearance, like thoughts, sensations, and they're constantly appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. Nothing happens to awareness. So you realize in this contemplation, you're actually realizing the freedom of awareness, the infinity of awareness, the transparency of awareness. So you cannot cut it with a knife. You cannot burn it with a fire. You cannot drown it. You cannot cut it with a scissor. So as you contemplate, the reality of your experience, all the false cannot stand. You cannot recognize yourself as awareness and at the same time recognize yourself as somebody who was born 20 years ago or 50 years ago. You see? You recognize the freedom of being. So, yes, you are right in saying, the negation is not, you say the negation of the identification. No. You can only negate something. Let me just put it another way. You don't negate Santa Claus. You simply recognize that Santa Claus is a myth. You don't negate the tooth fairy. You recognize the tooth fairy is a character that we created, to amuse the children or whatever. So it's not negating, it is a recognition that there is no such thing as separation. There is no external object to identify with. That identification is imagination. It's just thought. There is no reality to identification. Reality only belongs to consciousness, only belongs to awareness. Yes, Randa, then you're right. I realized this, but it is not firm in the mind. It will become firm, Randa. Don't worry about it's not firm, it's getting firmer now, or I lost, I had it last week and now I don't. Don't worry about that. Simply remain in your contemplation of what am I truly. Contemplate the self, contemplate the I am, without adding a qualitative, not I am this or that, just a pure I am. Contemplate pure I am. Day and night, take your contemplation to your sleep. Wake up with your contemplation. Stay with your contemplation. Don't worry about how it roots, because God is doing all this work, not you. God is. It's God's contemplation. So trust God, trust grace, trust the light that is shining onto you. Hello, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you write, Ola Magdi, are mental illnesses like depression, anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, etc., a natural result of the sense of separation and limitation? Added the fact that this society is mad. Do mental illness dissolve when awakening happens? You could say that serious psychological issues, depression, anxiety disorders, bipolar disorders, all the psychological issues have their root in some confusion about our true nature. The confusion about our true nature may not simply, or actually is not simply at the conceptual level, at the understanding level, it's also at the body level. It actually affects our feeling state, our inner chemistry, our blood flow, our electric balance in the organism, the cells, the virus of ignorance inhabits the entire body mind. And it's not possible to perceive beyond the veils that you're facing. You have to sort of make your way through the veils until you arrive to a place where it all dissolves. In some cases, there is a long, in all cases, there is a long journey, but in some cases, we already, or in all cases, we already have journeyed quite a bit. Some of us still are in the thick of the woods. Others are close to the clearing, and some are in the clearing. We all share this one destiny, which is a destiny to awaken to the self. There is no other destiny, there is no other meaning, there is no other purpose, there is no other direction, no other significance. This is the only significance. Now, this does not mean that we all understand that. Obviously not. We are very far from understanding that. In many cases, if not vast majority of cases, we are still confused about the significance of this waking dream. We still believe that the waking dream is about the dream. So we are deeply into the dream, trying to fix the dream, trying to have a better position, better relationship, better health, better wealth. So the journey takes the course that it takes. But in coming to your question, yes, the revelation of the self, the contemplation of the self, removes or deals with the core, the core of the disease, the core virus, the original sin, which is the personal identity, the belief that I am a body-mind, a personal body-mind, a form, a person, a living being. And I am not a living being. You could say that I am life, you could say I am the light of being, but I am not a living being. Consciousness is not a living being. Or you could say consciousness is all living and non-living forms, meaning everything is consciousness. Consciousness is beyond the appearances. And as soon as you come to that understanding, you will find that first your mental illness will decrease and at some point will dissolve. There's only really one source to our mental illness, which is the belief that I'm a body-mind. you could trace all psychological diseases, sicknesses, flaws, whatever you call, whatever you conditions, psychological conditions, severe and benign. You can trace them to the belief in mortality, meaning the identification as a body-mind. Again, this does not mean that the cure is Advaita. Advaita may not be of any help to people who are deeply in the woods. They may need other help. Okay, Manuel. Oh, Zoe, I just noticed Zoe had a question. Was it? Oh, can I see? Oh. Okay, Zoe, I just saw your question. Let me see. So I'm going to copy your question. Let me see. And then Zoe asks. Oh, Isaac, I'll come to your question in just a minute. Let me see. Okay. So Zoe, copied your question here. It says, is all fear just imagination? Yes and no. There is imagination in fear, that you may imagine that there is somebody outside of your door that wants you harm, while maybe there is nobody. So that would be imagination, but yet you're experiencing fear because you're imagining there is somebody outside of the door that wants you harm. Also, we imagine ourselves to be the body. We believe we are the body. And so we experience fear of what may happen to us in the future, meaning what may happen to the body in the future. So in a way, because the body, we all know, is going to die. So when we're identified, we're experiencing like a constant fear, a constant malaise, a constant unhappiness. Not a big one, but it's just ongoing. It's like a mist, but not like a big thick cloud, a mist. And on occasion we experience the big thick cloud when something happens that is threatening, that threatens the body, and we feel, oh my God, what's happening to me? So that's also imagination, imagining that you are a person. Ignorance, that's referred to as ignorance or identification, also leads to this sense of me, the sense of me that is sort of a latent or dormant fear, concern, and that we're so habituated to it that we don't even notice it. Zoe, you continue identifying with stories of past and future. Yes, identifying as a person, that there is a me in the past and me in the future. Me in the past, we regret, oh my God, why did I do this? And this shouldn't have happened to me. Oh, I'm miserable because my grandmother or grandfather or great grandfather, whatever. Or what's going to happen to me tomorrow? What will happen to me next year? So there is a me, meaning an identification with the body mind that is in the space. I was walking at dark last night. So you're continuing. I was walking at dark last night when two dogs ran towards me. I observed my body tense up. That's normal. Dogs you don't know, some dogs, are not well, they could bite. So tense up makes perfect sense. It's also safeguards the body, the blood goes up to the heart, so that in case you get bit, you don't bleed too much. But as I inquired into the fear sensation, it seemed the fear was not real. It was imagined. It was fear of what they might do, which was just a story about the future taking place in my imagination, not real. In a way, you are right in what you are saying here, Zoe, because when the dogs run towards you and your body tense up, that's not fear. That's the body's intelligence. The body's intelligence to safeguard itself. Maybe there's adrenaline that gets pumped into the body. You're ready to run or to fight, or in case that. So that's not fear. That is the organism. The organism preserving itself, doing the best it can to preserve itself as a human or human body organism. Now, if you were a worm, the worm won't be having the same bodily tense up than the human, because organs are totally different. They don't have lungs, they don't have a bloodstream, and so every organism is wired in a certain way to deal in this waking dream with whatever is happening. So I would agree with you that this is not fear. The fear is like the thinking, the download. Oh my God, what may happen to me, or oh my, what would have happened to me if, so it's the thinking. At the moment that you are in this situation, there is no fear. So the fact that you did not find any fear, that there is really no fear, it was just a bodily sensation, is correct. Isaac, hello Isaac. You write, when close people expect certain reactions from you, and one's response, and your response is stillness, that normally creates a crack in the relationship. It hurts. If I understood your question correctly, Isaac, people are always or often expecting from others what they cannot deliver themselves. They expect to be loved, to be respected, to be honored, to be treated in certain ways, while they're not even doing that themselves, towards themselves and towards others. I wouldn't be so worried about people's expectations. I gave up on that a long, long time ago. If you are living subject to people's expectations, you're really in trouble, because people's expectations are all over the map. You may start and look at business relationship. People start partnership, working together. They have a friendly relationship, and within a few months or less than that, they are at each other's throats, because they have certain expectations, hidden expectations from each other, and they keep changing. I would say that if you are experiencing in your relationship friends who are expecting from you to be in a certain way, I would say they're not being respectful to you, to what you are, how you are. Of course, everybody expects that they be respected, that you act respectfully, that's normal. But I'm talking if they're expecting you to act in a certain way that matches their conditions, their personal conditions, because there are some universal human conditions that we all agree upon: to communicate with each other respectfully, to listen to each other, to not to be mocking of each other, not to be gentle with each other. So these are like sort of like universal principles of relating. Now, if there are expectations that are personal, I want you to fit into how I want you to behave in the way I expect you to behave. If these friends you think are capable of discussing that with you, I would bring it up. I would say, hey, wait a minute, that's not what I like to do. Can you relax around this rather than being so exigent from me? But when you don't sense that there is a spaciousness or a loving space to go into that with them, I would question hanging out with them too much. Rather spend some time alone than spend some time with somebody who's pain in the butt, crack in the relationship. Well, the relationship is already cracked. If you're responding with stillness, or you're not meeting their expectations, and it creates a crack in the relationship, the crack is already there because they already are placing conditions on you. They already want you to be in a certain way. So the crack is already there, Isaac. Might as well, though, if the crack can be mended by them being a little bit more considerate of you, more loving of you, the heck with it. Who needs that? We want to be in loving relationships, in relationships where we are listening to others, we're respecting others, and people are listening to us and respecting us, and we can enjoy and celebrate life together. If possible, and if you really care about these people, I would talk to them. Just make some time around a cup of tea or something, and share with them what you are feeling, what you are perceiving. Maybe they will hear you. Maybe they will, or maybe they won't. If they won't, give it another try. But in the end, what can you do? You cannot kick a dead donkey or something like that. Anyways,
don't beat a dead horse.
You can't beat a dead horse. So good luck with that, Isaac. Yeah, just reach out, try and see how it goes, but don't place your happiness in anybody else's hands. Don't place your freedom in anybody's hands. Keep it in the hands of consciousness. Keep it in the hands of God. Yes. Okay. Hello, Holly. Holly, you're right. I have been enjoying the directions of today's conversation because I'm actually in the midst of an uncomfortable psychological state. I don't know if it's weather, work stress, or what, but here I am. One of the most uncomfortable storylines playing in my mind right now is why I'm not doing better, or judgment that I shouldn't feel this way because of the spiritual work that I've done. Do you have any advice for me? Yes, Holly, you know, we are sometimes really tough with ourselves. We set up standards for ourselves based on others or based on something we heard or based on some past experiences we had, or based on our ideas about what it is to be spiritual. To be spiritual is to be real in this moment, to be as real as possible in this moment. And if you are hurting right now for whatever way, you you first of all allow it, meaning don't fight it. This is a download that's arising for you. Oh my God, I'm spiritual. How come I've been doing spiritual work for so long? How come I'm experiencing this right now? That whole thought is painful. Allow the pain to feel it. Allow this. Give it the room to be. Don't judge yourself for what's happening. And if you judge yourself, don't judge yourself for judging yourself. At some point, the judging yourself stops. So also, live as much as you can in the freshness of the moment. And not in what has happened or what is happening. Because in the freshness of this moment, all what is happening is freshness, meaning not knowing, meaning just the purity, the innocence of being. That's available to you. It is available to you. Of course, the judgment also is available to you. That arises. But big deal. You don't need to hold it. It doesn't define you. Nothing that you feel or that you're experiencing defines you. We struggle with what arises. We struggle with our feelings. And when we struggle with our feelings, we're making them into emotions. They're becoming deeper and thicker and more, they seem to be more important. But you could just pull the curtain on all of that and just not even there. You could. It's possible. Right now, what's happening? You know, we think that we can become a better person. But that's a trick. It's a trick of the mind to become a better person. Goodness doesn't belong to a person. It's consciousness. In consciousness, there is no good or bad. There is just being. The mind says, "Oh, was a bad person. better person, worse person. I'm improving. Well, when you look at what is this person, you look right now, you only find awareness. The Holly, the story of Holly is just a download. And it downloads and downloads and downloads and downloads, but it's a download. Even if it's downloading every minute, it's still a download. In deep sleep, where is Holly? Right now, in this moment of being, where is Holly? There is no Holly. There is no me. There is no you. The download doesn't define what we are. It's just some mechanism of identification that wants to maintain itself. But we say, wait a minute, we say, I don't recognize you, I just recognize awareness. I just recognize consciousness. I don't recognize an improving or somebody who's getting better or worse. I don't recognize that. I only recognize awareness, consciousness. There is no better or worse in that. Why do we do that to ourselves? We make ourselves good and bad. Maybe we inherited that from our parents or teachers, or when we were young, susceptible children. You know, we were so influenceable, and we got influenced to believing all that. But now we think about it, we say, why do I do that? Why do I think of myself as good or bad or better or worse? It's all unhappy. Maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I can just be being, be awareness, be consciousness. And let the body mind do what it does, you know. When the direction comes, go right, I'll go right. When the direction comes, go left, go left. But I'll always use the direction of love and beauty, the direction of well-being, of ease, not the direction of judgment and complication, or none of that. Always take the direction of love and beauty, of peace, right? I mean, and if that doesn't appear to you, that direction doesn't appear to you, you don't have to take a move. You can just be still. Stillness is good. Stillness is peace. There are people who meditate for 20, 30 years to get to stillness. But here we're talking about the stillness of being. Just right now, it's just being. Relaxing as being. Relax as being. Which you are already, you are that. Don't add judgment to the judgment. If there is judgment that arises, let it be. Don't judge yourself for judging yourself. Make the buck stop somewhere. And you don't need to know if it's weather, work stress, who cares? The mind will start spinning. What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? So, oh, the problem is this, the problem is that, the problem is... But there's no problem. Something is happening. We don't need to understand it. We don't need to understand everything. A lot of things we can leave them without understanding them. Okay, I don't know, I'm feeling, you know, and again, I'm comparing myself to how I was feeling before. I'm feeling blue as opposed to what? As opposed to pink. So there is a memory of pink. And so now it's less pink, so I call it I'm feeling blue. But you don't need the memory of the pink. You can just feel this blue without calling it blue, without coloring it, without comparing it. Because you don't live in two dimensions. You don't live in the past and in now. But that's what we do. We have memories of how we were, and therefore we say, oh, that's how we should be or how we should not be, which is all nonsense. Because as soon as we download how I should be, we're being tough with ourselves, or how I should not be, we're being tough with ourselves. Why? Just be being. There is no how to it. Being is everything. Hunger, thirst, tiredness, whatever. It's all of it. And at the same time, it is none of it. It's just pure freedom, pure being. All the images that appear on the screen, they are inherent part of the screen, but yet the screen is complete freedom. Okay, Holly. All is well. Okay, well, thank you all for your lovely company, and namaste to you all. Nice spending time with you, and we'll see you soon. Yeah. Okay, Manuel, Holly, Isaac, and Ananda, Randa, Richard. Thank you all. Thank you all.